Yeah, we could show it off. So, all right.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah.
Hello.
So how was your Memorial Day weekend, Carrie?
It was nice. It was cold because I'm in Alaska. So forgot how, summer can be like 52 degrees and people are like, yay. And I'm like, brr.
Yeah, we've just relaxed, worked in the yard a little bit. Our neighbor has a pool, so they invited us over. We dipped in it because it's pretty hot. It was pretty hot over the weekend in the 90s. But, we just relaxed because we were all week in Vegas and, ding, ding, ding. I think I still hear that when I close my eyes. Ding, 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 ding. With all the slot machines constantly.
How's your humidity level? Is it pretty high?
Yeah, over the weekend it was not bad, but now it's pretty humid again because we got this crazy storm last night. Yeah. And it was really loud. All 3 dogs jumped on the bed with us because felt like the lightning was hitting our house. Wow. So yeah, we have some storms rolling through this week, so the humidity is there.
Well, that's a good segue to our topic for this week.
Exactly. So I'll go ahead and get us started. Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome to the Dog Gurus Live. If you can see us and hear us, please write in the chat hello. And then also let us know who you are and where you're at, because I get joy from that. So I'm Shantae Marquez, joined with Carrie Campbell. We are both Profit Network coaches at the Dog Gurus. And in addition to providing one-on-one coaching, the Dog Gurus helps pet care businesses launch, grow, and profit. So what does that mean? That means that we have resources to help you thrive in every stage of your business. And one of the things that we do best is empowering business operators to successfully increase their revenue and reduce their expenses. So we also have the #1 pet care staff training system for canine body language and positive reinforcement dog management skills. So given the recent storms and natural disasters that many states have been experiencing, we thought it would be timely and crucial to discuss how pet care businesses can prepare for emergencies. So, Carrie and I were just talking about this. I mean, in our line of work, there is a lot of different emergencies that can happen, right? So whether it's a pet care emergency, a staff emergency, a fire, flood, hurricane, tornado, earthquake, and this one, to say, my heart drops when I say this one, but unfortunately it's true in this day and age, but active shooter. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are all emergencies that can happen. It's essential to have a plan in place to ensure the safety of the animals and staff in your care. So let's talk about ways you can prepare and respond to these emergencies effectively. And also, if you have questions or comments throughout this discussion, please write them in the chat, because we would love to hear what you have to say or any questions that you have. We just love the engagement. So I'll throw it to you, Carrie. Where do you want to begin?
Oh gosh, there's so many areas, but well, you did cover that, there really are kind of, several different categories, but animal related, staff related, client related. There can be an emergency with a client, car accident, something like that. And a facility. So if it's something that's going to impact your facility directly, but kind of under that, really, you have to take a look at where you live, where you're located, and what are likely to be natural disasters that can happen. So for you're in Texas, and you've got hurricanes and just big storms that come through that can cause flooding, power outages. For me in Alaska, we're talking about power shortages, earthquakes that have a lot of physical structural damage that can occur. If you're someplace where you're apt to see tornadoes, you've got high winds, destruction that way. Plus, again, you're looking at power outages and in some cases, lack of water. So water can be contaminated. So I think if you really take a look and analyze where you're located and what are the primary disasters that are likely to happen, you can start from there.
Well,
And
and
then
I think, having a fire, we're all susceptible to that, whether
absolutely,
it's our business or a home, because
yep.
those type of things, an electrical fire happens. It's
Mhm.
very, very common.
Right. And devastating, because even if there are not a lot of flames, it is the smoke from fire that can actually um, kill people and animals much faster than having them physically burn, because the smoke is so toxic, and it's full of carbon monoxide. So, in a way, if that devastation is going to happen, it's a better way to pass, I guess, to
I
look at the doom and gloom of it. But still, yeah, that every facility is susceptible to a fire, and so are you with your home as well. So that kind of ties back to whether a client goes through something like that and how you can assist them in the event that that happens and they are displaced and their dog is displaced. But once you kind of figure out what are the most likely disasters that can happen in your community, how do you address that? So what are the plans that you need to put into place in order to have um, a sufficient amount of supplies, whether it's something that is going to require you to relocate and you have to evacuate your facility, or if it's something where you can shelter in place, what do you physically need in order to create that plan? And then once you have that plan, how do you practice that? So how can you drill that with your staff so they know that they have the confidence to execute that plan in a safe and timely manner? So
Yeah, let's kind of break down all the different, because there's a lot to talk about here. So I think like the first thing that we should talk about is going through your facility and doing some risk assessment of it,
absolutely.
and making a plan, right? That's the first thing. And I would say, like, first and foremost, it should be you and the managers going through and looking for all the possible, you know, areas that can be improved or safeguarded to prevent any type of accidents. But you can also go to the local fire department and have them walk through and help
Mhm.
you identify the things that you may not notice.
Right.
So it is a service that they provide. I don't think that they charge anything. I mean, we would have the fire department walk through our place like once a year, and all the girls would be like, "Oh," batting their eyes. That was never a bad thing. They were always like, "Oh, can I give a tour?"
No, but one of the things that's really interesting about that, Shantae, is the fact that if you look at how many pet care facilities are in your community, I guarantee you fewer than the majority actually have thought this process out. So they will be so touched that you're actually putting something into place that they are usually very excited to come out and work with you to create a disaster plan, and they don't charge. We've never experienced that with our facility in Alaska, and I think that that's just part of what they do for the community to keep everyone safe. So
Yeah.
so it's a great partnership.
And we had to, my facility being in California, we actually had to turn in an evacuation plan for an emergency, and then every year we had an inspection that came through, which is why the firemen would come by, but they would also check our fire extinguishers because they would need to be serviced every year as well, because they do go bad. So if you're not out there getting those things refilled, or just making sure the nozzles are all working correctly, make sure you do that if your county doesn't require it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about like evacuation routes and how does all of our facilities are so different, right? For me, luckily I had like double fencing in my facility. I had huge roll-up doors. So getting them out all at once was, could be somewhat easier because they would go out into the one play yard, but then the entire facility corner was also fenced as well. So we kind of had a couple safeguards. So if we actually had to get the dogs out really quickly, we can leash them up as quick as possible and tie them to the fencing in various places, and while we can go get more dogs. That was one thing. But how would you do your evacuation?
So we took a look at each of the play areas and what was the safest, most direct route to get them outside. And Was that getting them outside into a fenced in area, or was that getting them outside to an area where we had to have them restrained? So we had what we called a bug out bag in each room that consisted of, some temporary slip leads. We had water in there. We had the little disposable, like the paper, like French fry trays, but you could use them for like a drinking bowl. We had carabiners in case we needed to clip them, like the end of a slip lead to something, just for restraint for a short term. We had a list of the clients. We had a cell phone that was always charged. And we had some of those tinfoil emergency blankets. So if we did actually have to evacuate in the cold winter, we had some blankets that we could put over them. But all of that was very compact and could fit in this bag that you could just grab and go. So that was one thing. And then when we were looking at the little dogs, if our little dogs didn't have as direct a route, then we had several of the wire kennels that were on wheels so that we could put them in and push them out the fastest exit, because we could put 2 to 3 dogs in one of those little kennels and get them outside fairly quickly. When we started to put this plan together, and the fire department will tell you this as well, but human life always has to be the top priority. And I think it's really crucial that you reiterate with your staff that that is the number one, because in the event that there's like an explosion, getting everybody out, and that being the dogs or the pets as well as the staff, may not be a possibility. So we want to make sure that we're getting all of the humans out of the building safely. And then if we have time to do the evacuation of all of the pets, that's the secondary. And of course, I think everybody's passion lies and they want to rescue the dogs, but we do have to be careful that somebody doesn't try to go back in, because again, that smoke inhalation in the event of a fire is what's the most critical. So anyway, we just work on coming up with the safest, most direct route, making sure that we had supplies when we were evacuating the building, and then what was the protocol once everybody was out. And I know I talked about this in Colorado, because Hardy Heart Hideaway was saying that that they enjoyed my presentation there, and it is true. Some of the fun is drilling it and getting confidence under your staff's belt, because I think if they feel like they know they can do this, then in the event of emergency, they're a little more secure, and they don't have that sense of panic that may occur if they weren't kind of educated on what the process was. So yeah, I think that just coming up with that plan and documenting it and then practicing it or drilling it with your staff is what kind of solidifies in the moment that they are really, truly prepared.
Yeah. And I also want to just talk a little, it was funny because I'd get customers that, were getting a tour from us, and that was one of their questions. They'd be like, well, what are you going to do if there's a fire? Luckily, I had a sprinkler system throughout the whole building. So I would just point up and be like, there, we have a sprinkler system. But that's not everything. But the other thing is that it's a hard conversation to have with a potential client. But, I'm going to put my staff's safety first and foremost, and then the pets, because, Carrie is right. But also depending on the emergency, there may not be staff there, depending on what time of day or night that it happens, or if it's a flood or something like that. There might only be 1 or 2 staff member on, and nobody else can come out to help. So it's a scary and tough conversation to have, but hopefully parents understand that, your staff's lives and safety is really the top priority first and foremost.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just sharing. This was how we got our little dogs out, with having, multiple dogs in kennels on wheels, because it was a safe way to get them outside quickly. So, and then, we had the fire department there and fire truck. And so it's just all fun and games until it becomes real. But, the more the practice is there, then the more likely you are to make sure that it all is executed properly.
Yeah, let's talk about if there is some type of disaster like earthquake or hurricane or flooding or something like that. Should people, ask the parents to come pick their pets up, or to have their emergency contact come pick up the pets? Because I think people wonder what's the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in the event that you have to evacuate your facility, whether that is due to fire or flooding, where the care of the animals is impacted. So you either have to remove everyone from the facility, or you have to rearrange them based on, if an area of the facility is flooding. And so the more animals that you can return to the emergency contact or to the pet parent safely, the easier it is going to be from your end to take care of the few that you may have to hold on to, and also deal with whatever the situation is at the facility. So if you have an emergency contact, or maybe they are doing something else, they're remodeling and the dog is staying with you for a week while contractors are in the house, it may be that the owners are physically in town and you can reach out and contact them to come pick the dog up or the pet up. I think that that's critical. And I also think that if you are having to care for animals, you're unable to get them safely out of the facility, that you need to charge extra for that, because there's a lot of demand on labor that's going to occur depending on what the situation is. So the ability to continue to provide, top care quality for those pets while you're under duress is going to impact your bottom line. So
yeah, it'll be difficult. And remember, these are young kids that are working for us. So I mean, their families, their situation, they may not be available to come and help in a disaster situation too. But that also makes me think about having a really good communication strategy. So that's communication strategy to, number one, talk to the staff, and then communication strategy to talk to all the parents that are in the care. So Carrie, how did you deal with that?
So we used to actually let pet parents know when we were practicing it, just so they kind of got an idea of what that would look like in the event of an emergency. So as to prepare them that if they got that kind of 911 text from us, that it wasn't a complete shock out of nowhere, that they had seen that. So, we would like build up on report cards for a week or so. Hey, we're going to be practicing this. You're going to get an emergency broadcast, if you will. Just know that this is coming, but this is what it would look like in the event a true emergency happened at our facility. And I also think that you need to be very clear in what the instructions are. So if it is a daycare that's impacted and you need to have pet parents come and pick them up immediately, then make sure that those steps are very clear in your communications, and that they know where they're supposed to pick up. One thing that I didn't know until it actually happened to us is that if the fire department comes on site, they become the kind of the site chief. And so you can't just have pet parents drive up to your front door and expect to get an animal, because the fire chief or whoever is the scene commander will actually be the one to say, yes, you can get this, yes, you could come on site. So that's another thing, is that you have to be in communication and coordination with whoever that site commander is.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I didn't know that. The other thing is, luckily now in this day and age, that, I think most facilities are using a software platform for their reservation system. Mm-hmm. And that makes it really easy to communicate to the pet care owners and get their records. But what if internet and power is down? Then it might be a good idea to every day to have a printout of their pet profile. We actually had printouts of the pet profiles on the lockers too, where we kept their stuff, so we could grab those sheets if we needed to also have a backup way to communicate and know the pet parents' phone numbers and things like that. But just something to think about in case internet's down, because you never know.
Yep. Yeah. And depending on how area wide a disaster is, cell phones may be down as well. So, that's something else to consider, is what's another way that you could communicate without our normal channels of communication.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about supplies and resources that you could have in your facility. I think first aid kit, that is something that should every 6 months really should be looked at and refreshed.
Absolutely.
Because everybody's always getting bumps and scrapes and things like that.
Yeah, for dogs and humans, right?
Yeah. I mean, You never know. So we went through Band-Aids a lot.
Yep.
But I liked how you had that. What did you call it? Duck out or no?
No,
Bug out bag?
bug out bag.
Yeah. That's very smart. But having a lot of different extra crates there available, especially if you take care of dogs that are not social, is really important to have. And no, also, I just want to say that there's no perfect way to plan for every disaster. You're just going to do the best that you can do. Right. There's only so much we can do in a situation, and everybody's running on adrenaline. But we can at least try to have the supplies there to make the situation as best as possible. But having a bunch of extra leads, slip leads that easily can be grabbed. The water bowls was smart. What else?
So I think that, even like small portable battery operated fans, if you're in a hot area, that you've got something that you can use to cool down, or even having a few of those ready ice packs that you just have to crack them and then they turn cold. Something like that. If you're in a hot environment versus in a cold environment, having like those little thermo, they look like aluminum foil blankets. So, or aluminium, isn't that the English way to say aluminum? Aluminium.
Yes. If you are looking,
oops, did I freeze or did Shantae freeze?
There is a book called Hairy Situations. It's from Sonia Wilson. Yeah, Carrie has it right there. And you can get it. I'll put the link in here. You can get it on dogwise.com. But this is a fantastic book. It's only $9.95. It's very affordable. But this kind of talks about all sorts of crisis planning, response, and recovery for your pet business. So if you're interested in that, I put the link there. It's really awesome to look at. And they even talk about active shooters too.
Yeah, Sonia she owns and operates and still owns and operates her business in Texas. So this is a great read, and it's just full of resources. So definitely take a look at that if you haven't put your own plan together.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions out there? Hope we didn't bum you all out too much.
It actually can be a fun process, Well,
I think having the drills could be really fun because you can make a game out of it. You could have teams and you could have prizes and almost like relay races. Exactly. So I think that could be really fun.
Well, and you can do like I used to have those Melissa and Doug, those big mannequin stuffed dogs that you can buy. And if a group was like outside with their play group, I would go into their indoor play space and I'd like throw one of those dog down. So I'm like, dog having a seizure in Layla's lounge. And they'd come in and they'd have to do like their first aid and practice what they would do if a dog was seizing or
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, just kind of see, what was the response time and did they do the correct thing and medically or first aid wise. So yeah, I think again, the more you practice that stuff, the more confidence it gives the staff members. So
absolutely. And of course, as this always goes back to, for me, having your SOPs planned, your standard operating procedures. So, that's really so important to just not have chaos in a business. Yeah. And of course, we always have the book that you can purchase if you are looking to make your life a little easier and save some time in developing your SOPs. We definitely have that available, and I'll also put it in to the chat so you can see it. And if nobody has any questions, we can go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let me put a couple of these links in the chat because some of these are really good. This one is from the CDC, and it's about healthy pets in crisis. So that's a great one. You have the Dogwise book. This is a really good resource for free active shooter training. So that's another one. Give people time to copy these if they want to. And And then the other one is just from the Red Cross, because they talk about preparing for emergencies for humans, but then also what it looks like to add the animal component or the pet component to that. So if you don't have one at your home, do it, because you never know when something's going to happen that you. So the bug out bag came from Shantae, is that sometimes you may need to evacuate. So you literally have to like bug out of your house. So you have that short term, like 2 to 3 day supply of whatever you need. And then the other is like a shelter in place kit. And that's usually for up to 2 weeks. So if for some reason something happened and you have to shelter in place, do you have enough food? Do you have enough medication? So when you're looking at that from the pet perspective, in that kit, you should have, if your dog is taking Rimadyl or something like that, that you've got that supply in there for 2 weeks, and then that you have pet food in there as well, and then when to rotate that. So every 6 months, check to make sure that it's in there, but pull those 12 pills out, use them, then put some new ones in there so that there's always fresh, up-to-date medication and food in your pack. So
yeah, smart. It's not paranoia. It's smart.
no. In today's day and age, yeah, with all of the different weather conditions that we're seeing.
Well,
so
it just made me think, not this year, but the year before, we had that freeze, and we were out of power for a couple of days, and it was freezing. It's cold.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
luckily we had a generator, but things like that, that's another emergency that could happen.
Yep.
So
Exactly. We're built for the cold up here. We die in the heat, and you guys are vice versa. Right?
exactly.
You're used to the higher temperatures, but when it's freezing like that,
It literally was 3-dog night that night. So.
That's so funny. So, but yeah, if people have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. This is kind of one of my passion topics, because I love the prepared side of things. So we would love to help you.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for joining us. I'll also invite you to join our Grow Your Pet Care Business Facebook group. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat here. We just have 2 rules for that group. It's be nice and no selling, because we want to make it a forum where it's really there for networking and helping each other out. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks, Shantae. Bye, everyone.
Bye.